I never thought a wooden ramp could start a war. But the day our HOA president slammed that violation notice against my chest telling me to tear down the ramp I'd built for my pregnant wife, I realized this wasn't just about wood or rules. It was about control. She didn't know it yet, but she had just declared war on the wrong man. My name's Daniel Mercer. I'm a structural engineer. My job is to find cracks before they bring entire buildings down. And Patricia, the queen of this perfect little neighborhood, was about to become my next inspection project. The ramp she hated wasn't some decoration. It was the only safe way for my wife Elena to leave our home. Her pregnancy had been rough bed rest, constant fatigue, fainting spells. That ramp was her lifeline. But Patricia didn't see a safety measure. She saw aesthetic violation. She smirked as she said it, clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. Remove it within 7 days or face escalating fines. I told her calmly, that ramp is ADA compliant, and it's built stronger than any structure on this street. I could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes, but she covered it quickly with that practiced fake smile. She didn't know what the ramp really meant. Those boards came from my late father's workshop, the last pieces of wood he ever cut. He used to say, "Build something that lasts longer than me." I promised him I would. That night I walked through our neighborhood. Every lawn looked the same, perfectly trimmed, lifeless. Mailboxes, identical hedges squared off like soldiers. It was eerie, like we were all living inside a rule book instead of a community. I saw fear everywhere, people afraid to speak, to question, to even meet my eyes. Patricia's name hung in the air like humidity. She'd fined a veteran for a wheelchair ramp, ordered an old lady to remove her porch swing, and banned a family's flower garden for being unapproved colors. And now, she wanted my ramp gone. When I got home, Elena was asleep on the couch, one hand resting on her belly. I watched her breathe and felt the anger boil under my skin. Patricia wasn't just threatening my wife's safety, she was trampling on my father's memory. I stood by the window watching the streetlight flicker and made a silent promise she wasn't winning this one. Not this time. The next morning I opened the door and froze. Parked across my driveway was a silver SUV engine running, blocking me in. Leaning against the hood was Marcus, the HOA vice president, sipping coffee like he owned the place. "You're in violation," he said smugly. "Until it's fixed, you don't move that truck." I took out my phone and started recording. His smirk faltered just a little. "You're trespassing," I said, voice steady. He shrugged, still playing tough. "Call it enforcement." Behind me the roses my father planted swayed in the wind, sharp red, defiant. He used to say every rose carried both beauty and defense. I looked back at Marcus and said quietly, "You have no idea how much I understand that." He peeled out tires, screeching, leaving another orange notice on my lawn, this time about unapproved medical equipment. He was talking about the generator that powered the monitors in Elena's room. Without it, her oxygen machine and heart sensors would shut down. They knew that, and they were still coming for it. That was the moment I realized this wasn't enforcement. It was harassment, and if they wanted a fight, I was done playing nice. I drove to the community clubhouse that afternoon, the place where Patricia hosted her smug HOA updates. The second I stepped inside, I smelled mildew and chlorine. The walls were cracking, ceiling tiles sagged. The pool room was worse, chemical cans stacked dangerously close to electrical wiring, and the ADA pool lift missing a safety bolt. One failure, one kid leaning the wrong way, and someone could die. So I did what I do best. I documented everything. Photos, notes, timestamps. Patricia had spent months policing mailbox colors while ignoring a death trap in the community pool. When I left, I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. That night I spread the photos across my desk. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. Faulty wiring, leaks, violations everywhere. I compared them to the HOA bylaws and the state safety codes. The HOA had power over appearance and uniformity, nothing more. They had zero authority over federally protected medical devices or safety installations. Patricia hadn't just crossed a line. She'd stepped straight into a legal minefield. The next day I ran into Victor, the HOA treasurer. Nervous guy, always fidgeting, never quite meeting anyone's eye. I saw him standing near the park, gripping his clipboard too tight. I approached slowly. "You okay, Victor?" He swallowed. "You didn't hear it from me," he muttered, glancing around. "But Patricia's planning to fast-track foreclosure. She wants your property gone." My stomach clenched. "Because of the generator?" He nodded. "She called it a nuisance. Said once you're out, she'll make an example of you." I exhaled slow and sharp. "Why tell me?" He looked torn. "Because she's crossing legal lines, Daniel, and if this blows up, we all pay for it." Then he handed me a folded paper. "Draft minutes from last night's meeting. Don't ask how I got them." When I got home, I unfolded it. My name was there in bold ink next to foreclosure authorization. That's when everything inside me shifted. No more hesitation, no more second-guessing. Patricia had gone too far. For a moment, I just sat there staring at the paper. I thought about giving up, about just moving, letting it all go. I was tired, exhausted. Every fight felt heavier than the last, and I kept thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe if I'd just followed the rules like everyone else, none of this would have happened. But then I heard Elena coughing softly from the other room, the monitor beeping, that generator humming quietly. Her lifeline. And I knew. If I quit now, I'd be telling her and everyone else that fear wins. So I got back up. The next 48 hours, I became a machine. Photos, laws, cross-references, everything lined up like structural blueprints. I built 3 binders, one for safety code violations, one for Patricia's harassment, one for the community impact. Every photo labeled, every statute cited. The case was airtight. By the time the HOA meeting rolled around, I was ready. The community center parking lot was packed, more people than I'd ever seen there. Patricia stood by the door in her pastel suit, smiling like a politician, clipboard tucked tight against her ribs. "Evening, Daniel," she said sweetly. "Ready to face the consequences?" I smiled back. "More than you are." Inside, the room buzzed with whispers. Patricia banged her gavel. "First order of business," she said. "The ongoing violations at the Mercer residence, specifically the generator ramp and general lack of compliance." I waited for the silence to settle before placing my first binder on the table. "Before we discuss my violations," I said evenly, "let's review yours." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." I opened the binder and began laying out photos, frayed wiring, corroded pipes, missing bolts. "These are Class C safety violations under state law. All inside the community facilities your board oversees." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Patricia waved a hand dismissively. "Irrelevant. We're here to talk about your property, not—" I slid the second binder across the table. "These," I said, "are the draft minutes from your private meeting. The one where you targeted my generator, my wife's medical equipment, and planned to foreclose on my home. That's called selective enforcement, Patricia. It's illegal." Gasps. Heads turned. Even Victor, sitting at the far end of the table, looked pale. Patricia stammered. How did you—" I stood. "You've spent months threatening families over paint colors and porch swings while ignoring real dangers that could get people killed. You've bullied neighbors into silence. But that ends tonight." Her jaw tightened. "This is slander." "No," I said, voice low but sharp. "This is evidence." The room went dead silent. Patricia's hand shook on the gavel. Then Victor stood up, voice trembling. "She told me to issue fines I knew were wrong," he said. "She made us target certain people. I was afraid, but—" "He's right. It has to stop." The room erupted. Applause. Cheers. Years of bottled frustration breaking free. Patricia's face drained of color as she slammed the gavel again, but no one cared anymore. Her authority was gone. I leaned forward just enough for her to hear me. "You built your power on fear," I whispered. "And fear only works until someone calls your bluff." The meeting ended in chaos, neighbors shouting, some crying, others hugging. Patricia stormed out the side door, her clipboard clutched like a shield. The rest of the board followed their perfect little hierarchy, crumbling behind them. When I stepped outside, the night air felt different, lighter somehow. The roses along my fence caught the glow of the streetlights, their petals trembling in the breeze. I reached out and ran my fingers across the thorns. My father's voice echoed in my head. "Defend what matters, Daniel. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't worth it." And that's when I realized this was never just about a ramp or a rule book. It was about standing up when everyone else was too scared to. about refusing to bow when power turns into tyranny. Patricia thought she could break me with fines and threats, but in the end, all she did was teach me how strong a man becomes when he's defending his family. Lesson learned. When you build your life on truth and courage, no HOA, no title, and no clipboard can tear it down.